Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5 and this is going to be kind of a book review discussion over the book The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And of course I can't do this without comparing it to the Disney animated film Hunchback of Notre Dame. But I thought it would also be worth stating that this book was inspired by when Victor Hugo went to the Cathedral of Notre Dame and he saw engraved or scratched onto the wall in one of the rooms the word Anki. It's a Greek word, and I probably mispronounced it, but it means necessity, force, or fate. He actually translated it as fate, but the translations that I saw was like necessity, need, or force. And this got him to write The Hunchback of Notre Dame. There was a lot of differences between the animated Disney movie and the book, obviously, because it's a Disney film, whereas the Disney film is a comedy. I'm using this was a comedy both in genre and as in the Greek style comedy. The book is very much a tragedy, and for instance, the animated movie. They give Quasimodo the name Quasimodo, and Quadfrollo, the antagonist, gives him that name, and they say it means misformed or half-formed. And Quadfrollo adopts Quasimodo because he accidentally kills her mother, and the Archbishop tells him in order to repent, he needs to take care of Quasimodo as his own son. In the book, Quadfrollo willingly adopts Quasimodo, who is dropped off at the cathedral, in the hopes that it would make it would be good works and God will favor him because he's doing a good deed. And the actual word Quasimodo is the name of the first Sunday after Easter, which is where Quadfrollo was praying, and he came into contact with Quasimodo the child. Quasimodo was dropped off by, I think the girl's name's Pritchett. I can't pronounce the name that well. You don't learn this until towards the middle of the story, but Pritchett is a prostitute and an embroiderer, and she wants a child, and she finally gives birth to a daughter, a beautiful daughter. And she embroiders these very ornate, fancy baby shoes for her daughter, and she goes to the she goes somewhere, and she comes back, and her daughter is stolen and replaced with this misformed child that she drops off at the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Now, what's really cool about the book is that it's very much like Pulp Fiction or the movie Crash. We have all these individual small stories coming together to make one big story. So you have a lot of characters that are in the book that are not in the movie. Also, I thought it was funny that two of the gargoyles in the animated Disney movie, one was named Victor and one was named Hugo, and the third one was named Lorraine. But I thought that was interesting. But anyways, Parquette, her daughter is stolen, and she disappears for a long period of time, and you find out she ends up in like this mausoleum or chapel that's outside, and she's kind of like, she just lives there praying 24/7 because she lost her daughter. And when she finds out her daughter's lost, she goes out looking for her, and she finds this her shoe. She finds one of the shoes, and she comes to the conclusion that Gypsy stole and ate her at a black mass. So it's very twisted. There's very few books that I've read that were as twisted and dark as Hunchback of Notre Dame. Anyways, Quadfrollo and well, let me skip back a little bit. You don't get introduced to Quasimodo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame until the 5th chapter, and he wins the Pope of Fools contest, and he gets carried off away. And there was this character named Pierre Gringoire, and he's a poet, playwright, and his play doesn't go over too well, and because something happens and you start hearing this word La Esmeralda, La Esmeralda, and he doesn't know who or what La Esmeralda is, and his play is pretty much abandoned. But he finds out that La Esmeralda is this beautiful gypsy girl, and she kind of follows her, kind of weird, kind of creepy, and she's dancing, and this character who's bald and old is just staring at her. And this is Quadrolo, and he's like cursing her, but yet is obsessed with her. And later on, Quasimodo actually assaults La Esmeralda. Not really assaults, but tries to kidnap her. And the captain of the King's Archers, Phoebus, rescues her. And La Esmeralda falls in love with Phoebus, gets obsessed with Phoebus. And you'll find that there are several themes that are in this book. One, that there's the theme of lust and obsession. Quadrolo is lusting and obsessed over La Esmeralda. La Esmeralda's lusting and obsessed with Phoebus. And you also get this kind of theme of flawed Catholic or Christian characters. In the movie, Quadrolo is a judge. He's a public official. In the book, Quadrolo is an archdeacon. And anyways, Quadrolo is absolutely obsessed with La Esmeralda, and just like in the movie, and La Esmeralda, or Esmeralda, is obsessed with Phoebus, and this plays a big part of the thing too. I think it's also worth mentioning that pretty important to the plot, Quasimodo is deaf, and he's a Cyclops. He only has one visible eye, but he's deaf, and this actually plays a part where when Quasimodo was being on trial for trying to abduct La Esmeralda, that the judge presiding over the case is also deaf, so they get this back and forth thing that's pretty hilarious. But anyways, Quasimodo gets strapped onto the pillory, and he's being flogged with this whip. And everybody's laughing at him, oohing and ahhing and jeering him and stuff. And La Esmeralda has compassion on him. And we're not really told why, but she goes up to him and gives him a drink of water. Just like in the movie, she releases him. That's kind of the parallel scene. But then Quasimodo is very impressed by La Esmeralda and wishes to protect her and do all that kind of stuff. But anyways, like I said, there's many different stories that interweave and come together to make one big story. And I said there was a recurring theme of lust and flawed Christian characters. Victor Hugo was against the death penalty, and he was anti-Catholic. He considered himself a rational deist, which might be a little bit hard to explain. He believed that there was a God, but I don't think he knew who that God was. But he was definitely anti-Catholic, and I think that's played a part in this book as well. But anyways, Phoebus is a dog. He's not a good character. He's a womanizer. He's engaged to be married to his cousin, and but he's wanting to mess around with La Esmeralda, which is kind of funny because the name La Esmeralda is seen as a weird name to the French people. They were in France, and it seems that La Esmeralda is Spanish for the emerald, and I think that's why it seems a little odd to them. But and I think that's also why in the animated movie they give her green eyes. But anyways, Phoebus is having a rendezvous with La Esmeralda, but he doesn't have the money to pay for the hotel room. And Quadfrollo, wanting La Esmeralda, offers to pay for his hotel room, and he hides in the closet. And then when things are getting a little bit hot and steamy, not X-rated, but it's getting hot, Quadfrollo comes out of the closet and stabs Phoebus in the neck, and La Esmeralda faints. She wakes up and she's being arrested for murder, and they carry Phoebus away, and they put La Esmeralda and her pet goat Jolly on trial for witchcraft, murder, and that kind of stuff. Just like in the movie, Jolly is a very intelligent goat, and in the book, he actually performs some tricks. He tells time. He knows what day of the week and what month it is. He knows how to impersonate people, kind of in a goat way. So he's a really smart goat, so they think that he's a devil or something. So La Esmeralda and Jolly are put on trial. Unbeknownst to her, Quadfrollo's on the panel of judges, and she gets tortured until she confesses, and she gets sentenced to death. And that's when she's fixing to be hung. Quasimodo rescues her and yells "Sanctuary" at Notre Dame. And there's this whole battle scene where the gypsies are trying to rescue La Esmeralda from the cathedral, because the cathedral is going to be attacked by some people who are wanting to execute La Esmeralda. But Quasimodo, being deaf, thinks that the gypsies are the bad people, and he's protecting La Esmeralda from the gypsies who are trying to rescue him. And there's this pretty intense battle scene where Quasimodo just lays waste to the gypsies who are putting the cathedral under siege. And the archers, the king's archers comes in, and lancers come in and pretty much finish off the gypsies. And Pierre Gringoire. Pierre Gringoire is a minor character, but he's actually La Esmeralda's husband. He finds the Court of Miracles from following La Esmeralda, and he's fixing to be hung, and La Esmeralda rescues him by offering to marry him so that he will be adopted into the gypsy family, so he wouldn't be executed. But it's just a marriage in name alone. She doesn't love him. She just didn't want to see him die. La Esmeralda has a open heart for everybody. She's a very nice, kind, innocent, modest woman, even though she dances and people are just obsessed with her because she's so beautiful. But anyways, Pierre Gringoire gets a hold of La Esmeralda along with this shadowy figure, what you'll probably be able to guess who it is, and they ferry her across this river, and she finds out that the shadowy figure, or the guy that's in a hood, is Quadfrollo. And Pierre Gringoire is absolutely in love with Jolly, not in a weird way, but he loves the goat, and he kind of takes the goat and wanders off. And Quadfrollo does what he does in the book, and it says, "You can either be with me or you will die. No one can have you." And she says, "No, I'm only in love with Phoebus." And so he gives her to the Praquette, who's in the kind of mausoleum chapel thing. And she wants to see La Esmeralda dead because she is the same age as her daughter. And she sees this gypsy woman, and she wants to inflict as much damage on this gypsy girl and her family as the gypsies supposedly inflicted on her. So she's hanging on to La Esmeralda, and she's like, "You're going to hang, you're going to die, and you're going to feel the pain that I felt when I lost my daughter." And La Esmeralda sees the embroidered shoe hanging in the mausoleum type thing. They call it the rat hole. But it's a place of prayer. And La Esmeralda pulls out a matching shoe. So they're mother and daughter. So they have this brief 5 minutes of just loving each other and being reunited and trying to catch up and stuff. I mean, it's a magical moment. And then the royal ultras come, and the law comes, and she tries to hide La Esmeralda in the rat hole, the mausoleum, whatever you want to call it. And she hears Phoebus. Phoebus is not dead and doesn't even bother to tell anybody that he's still alive, even though this whole trial with La Esmeralda is going on. And you see in the book that he actually sees that she's about to be executed, and he doesn't actually do anything about it. But she hears Phoebus, and she cries out, "Phoebus!" And but Phoebus walks off by the time that happens, and the military, law enforcement, whatever you want to call them, catches her and is about to execute her. And she's yelling and pleading with her mother, "Mother, defend me. Mother, protect me. I don't want to die." And there was this very brutal scene in the book where they hang her, and she's like kicking and convulsing. And I think the executioner was actually sitting on her shoulders. And Quadrello makes it back to the cathedral of Notre Dame and is looking out the balcony towards that area of La Esmeralda being hung. And Quasimodo, not understanding what's going on at the time, is trying to figure out what he's looking at. And he sees that Quadrello is just laughing demonically. And he sees La Esmeralda hanging there, kicking. And so he pushes Quadrello off, and he dies kind of similarly to how he died in the movie. But anyways, the Hunchback disappears for a long period of time. No one knows what happens to him. And years later, they find this mass grave where the executed or dumped, and they find this female body with female clothes, and this deformed body that has like a misshapen head and back embracing the female body in this grave. So you can kind of guess what happened. He was heartbroken. He loved Esmeralda, and he spent the rest of his life embracing her as he died, being with her and post-mortem. But like I said, there's many themes in here. You have these people being obsessed and in love with and lusting after people. You have La Esmeralda telling Phoebus, "Tell me about your religion," because she wants to marry him and she wants to be part of that. And Phoebus is like, religion. Let's not talk about that. Let's live in the moment type of deal. And by the way, he was engaged at this time. So you have like the Archdeacon and Phoebus misrepresenting their religious views. If you can even say that Phoebus had a religious view, La Esmeralda thought that he belonged to the Catholic Church. Both in the movie and the book, La Esmeralda prays in the Cathedral of Notre Dame to the Christian God. I guess you could say through Mary to the Christian God, because it's a Catholic cathedral, and that's kind of the theme. And so it seems that even though La Esmeralda is considered heathen, pagan, and stuff like that, she's drawn to the Christian worldview, and the people that should be representing that to her fell miserably. But it's an awesome book. It's very well done, very well written. I truly enjoyed it, but it's not a book that I'm looking forward to read or listen to again, because it's so brutal, it's so sad, it's a tragedy. It's funny, Quasimodo dies at a young age, embracing La Esmeralda, who dies at a young age. They're roughly 16 years old when this happens. La Esmeralda's 16, Quasimodo's around 16. Quadrello dies at a relatively old age, but it's kind of funny in the book they say Phoebus met a most unhappy end. He got married, so that was kind of funny, but it's what happened to him. He's pretty much the only Pierre Gringoire, and Jolly the goat are pretty much the only ones that live. You might suspect that Purquette, the mother of La Esmeralda, her original name being Angus, might have lived, but they don't really talk too much about that, about her end. But it's just a really good book, and there's a lot of things to talk about in this book. I think it's a very worthwhile book. This book has a lot of French in it, has some Latin, Greek, and the inspiration for this book was the word alke, the Greek word for necessity. And there's a scene where Quadrello's talking to this other alchemist guy, and there was this fly in this spider web, and the guy tries to remove it, and Quadrello stops him and says, "No, it's fate. Don't mess with fate." So it seems that fate was against La Esmeralda, that she was destined to die and to be miserable in that way. And I think that's kind of the prophecy that this fly had in the spider's web. But it's a well done book. Highly recommend it. I love the audio one. It's a long book. It's about a 20-hour long book from start to finish. Like I said, those French words, Greek words, Latin words might confuse you a little bit. But me, being severely dyslexic and ADHD, I enjoyed the book. I was able to get the theme of the book in the English translation. And I also got the movie, the Disney movie, which is also dark in its own right, but it's a comedy. Keep in mind that a comedy is the full circle, a tragedy is half of a comedy. It's definitely a cool, interesting book that I'm glad that I got to experience. It's just that the scene where La Esmeralda finally is hung was a little bit more than I can handle, and I'm not looking forward to experience that again. But it was definitely well done. It's a well written book, and I wanted to share that with you. So there's a lot of stuff in the book that I didn't cover, obviously, because it's a 20-hour book, and this is about a 25-minute review. But I wanted to share it with you. So if you chose to experience the book, it was written in the 19th century. It takes place in Renaissance France, and it's just a cool book, and I wanted to share it with you. So that's it. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm out.